So another episode here on the John Bartolo Show. I'm really excited again, as I always am, about my guests and friends that I have on around the industry. This is a super special guest to me. He's been on before. I've had multiple conversations with him, and I have so much respect for this guy in terms of what he's done in the industry. He carries a role very similar to mine with his brand, and he's done a fantastic job getting his brand out there and developing and bringing the right kind of feel and attitude to his mission over there at Eberlestock. I have the one and only Austin Legg on, and I'm pumped up about it, brother. What's going on?
Hey, good evening, John. Man, I'm absolutely honored to be on the show again, and I really appreciate what you said, man. I've been working really hard with the whole team over at Eberlestock, and it absolutely is not it's not my doing, all the success we've had as of late, but we just have such a good team of guys, and we're heading in the right direction, man. It's a great thing to be a part of right now, but I appreciate the intro, man.
Of course. I mean, you've done a fantastic job getting that brand out there and just getting the product in the right people's hands and pushing that mission. Now, you've gone on a bunch of hunts lately, and you've been traveling around, you test the gear. How important is it to you to get out there and actually get hands-on? Now, we know about the Guinness Book of World Records. We know about the rucks. We know about all that stuff with you. But how important is it for you to get out there and get muddy?
You know, the funny thing is when I very first, when I took my role as marketing director, I was listening to a podcast one time, and Evan Hafer, who's the CEO and he's a friend of mine over at Black Rifle Coffee.
Yep.
On that podcast, he said, and I'll never forget it because it just hit me like a baseball bat. He goes, all marketing directors and marketing people are all the same. They're all snake charmers, and you have to take what they say at face value. And I remember listening to that, and I thought, absolutely not. Like, I am not going to be a snake charmer. I am not going to sell things that don't work. I'm not going to push things I don't believe. And I adopted that attitude, a couple of years ago. And in doing so, I really was like, okay, I have to push things to the limit. I have to find like how far this can go. So when I'm talking to people, I can honestly tell them like, hey, this is what you can do. And I know it because I've done it. And here was my experience. And so, yeah, like you said, man, the last basically 3 months, I have been all over the place. I've been hunting just tons of different species, a bunch of different states, all kinds of weather. Yeah, it's been awesome. It was a great fall.
Yeah, it's wild, man, to follow you along and just even going back and forth with you to get you on for a quick update as we roll in a shot. But you're out there, man. You're really doing it. And what you said really rings true, and he's absolutely correct. There's a lot of guys out there that ascend to these director and chief roles, and they never really got out there and get dirty. And I got to be honest with you, and I know you agree with me, because I've tried to be one of those guys that gets out there and does a little bit of everything. We're never going to be the best of the best or experts or whatever you want to call it, but we try to get out there and understand, at the base level, what the product does, what it can do, what it can't do, and get some understanding. Now, there's a lot of guys out there that don't do that, and I feel like that's one of the most missed opportunities in interviews, and when companies are bringing guys on, they just truly don't have enough field experience.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think there's a misconception too, because one of the things that people often say is, hey, it must be nice to get paid to go hunting, or it must be nice to have a job that allows you to hunt. And I just laugh, and I'm like, the reality is all the hunting you see me doing, all of that is on my personal vacation time.
Of course.
I plan my year and I plan my time so that I can maximize it during hunting season. Now, obviously, I have a family. I have to balance my family life and put them first. But at the same time, I love being outside. And so I'm going to spend as much time on the mountain as I can. And I get paid, but it's vacation time. It's not like my Monday through Friday. I just show up and say, hey, guys, I'm going to go hunting this week.
Yeah, there's a huge misconception there, of course. But keep going.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not at all, man. And so it's and that's what I tell people is I do this because I love it. I truly love it. And it just works out that at the same time I'm trying absolutely everything we make. I'm testing everything. I'm making sure it works. I'm finding things I like about it, things I don't like, what we can improve on. And so it's a really good balance for me. It works really well.
Yeah, and the fact that you genuinely enjoy it really shows through. It's one of those things. It's a passion play for you. It's not something that you're just doing to give lip service. You're not like, hey, let me take the pack and go for a walk on the local trail. You're getting out there, so that's legit, and it shows, man. There's no question about that. Yeah, there's no question. Now, there's a lot of products out there. There's a lot of different hunting companies out there and brands and backpack brands and everything else. Eberlestock's done a great job setting itself apart in its, not just its marketing, but in its true brand identity by developing products that I feel really answer the demands of the hunt. And I see that in a lot of the SKUs that you're coming out with. What drives that, and how do you get the company to, and I'm going to use a term that, is so important to us as marketing guys, what gets them to listen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the hard thing about the hunting industry is it changes very rapidly, and that's like the gun industry. It's like it's like all industries. They're changing so fast, and so we really have to have a good feel for what the end user wants and what the end user needs. And the way that we're doing that is by hiring people that do it themselves. So pretty much everybody that works at Eberlestock is either a veteran. Well, I should say everyone that works at Eberlestock is either a veteran, conceal carry daily, or hunts. Like we all are actively involved in the stuff that we design. And because of the patents that we hold a lot of patents that are particular to being able to carry weapons on your back. We look at the patents and say, hey, this is what we do really well. Right? These are the things that are ours, that we own. And then this is what the market wants, or this is what the market needs. Now, how do we put those two together? And because of that, and because of kind of, like I said, listening to the end user, we've really been able to design some things that are not only necessary, but kind of changing the way that the industry is going. And so that's just been awesome, man. We've really done a good job in the last couple of years of kind of shaping products to the needs of the end user, which has been fun.
Yeah, I think it's tremendously critical. And the reason I use the term listen is I remember having a conversation with Dom Rosso, and I asked him particularly why he chose a company he chose. And he looked at me and he goes, because they listen. And it's something that I know in that marketing department, we're the first to always take heat in terms of costing the company money or whatever. Like you said, the perception that we're always on vacation and this and that. And it's a tough one to overcome. But when people start to understand, it's a passion to develop and to create and to bring those things to market. And there's a lot of thought, and there's a lot of engineering, and there's a lot of working hand in hand, not just with the sales side, customer service, and the end user, to make sure that you're putting something out there that isn't garbage, in plain English.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I'm glad what you said about being able to listen, because that is something that I try and actually I take pride in my work is if the phone rings and I can answer it, I will answer it. I'm not above taking phone calls or answering emails, like not at all. I do it all the time. I do it every single day. And I love talking to guys. And it's funny how many guys are like, when I answer and I'm like, hey, this is Austin. They're like, wait, Austin from the video? Are you Austin from this? I'm like, yeah, man, that's me. And they're like, oh, you answer the phone? I'm like, of course. Like, I'm just a normal guy, and I love that. I love being able to interact with people and really just kind of, and I get to interact with everybody, like, guys that are in the feds, FBI and DEA and tier 1 groups and hunting. It's everybody. Like, it runs the whole gambit. It's an absolute blast. It's one of my favorite things is getting to listen to people.
Yeah, it's really something that gives you, I guess, for lack of better words, a very tactical business advantage, being able to pick up the phone and do that. it's not something that happens in every shop, and you're kind of blessed in a way to have that opportunity and to be able to do that. How closely do you work with your team on a daily basis when you're putting that type of content together, and how pivotal is it? Because I know you said that, you thanked them in the beginning. How pivotal is it to choose the right people around you and have a good team?
Yeah, it's been a real challenge from day one, and it took probably a good year to get the right people. We hired some in-house help. When I very first started, we have a very small team, and we're now, there's about 10 full-time employees now. So for us, that's we've grown a lot. And then we also have an outside marketing agency that I work with daily too. And so I have a team of close to 10 people over there that I work with daily. And so it's been awesome because we have our in-house, photographers and designers, and guys there that I work with, as well as guys remotely through the third party. And so it's a challenge. The difficulty in something like that is, it's really nice when everybody works in-house and the communication channel is all just like face to face. But in reality, in 2019, that's just not how it works anymore. Like, you have to be able to communicate through all these different channels with, I work with people daily in LA and Chicago and Kansas City and Boise and Texas, and you just have to be able to do that. And that's something that took me a while to kind of figure out. It's like, how do I communicate with, 5 different parties at once?
And effectively. The toughest thing, the toughest thing, is, I've said this the last couple of years, people have asked me, what is the biggest change you've seen in the firearms business and the tactical industry? And I sat back and I thought about it, and I've said it on a few podcasts. I believe the biggest growth spurt or success over the last 2 or 3 years, because a lot of people say, there's been no successes. I say it all the time, soft goods. Soft goods has been a major leap forward. We've taken a quantum leap in soft goods. And your brand is one of those brands that's contributed to that quantum leap. Would you agree, or where do you stand on it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting because one of the things I've seen, I think you're right. One of the things I think is that kind of that instant gratification feeling that we get through social media, and the, I want it and I want it now, and I want what's new, and I want new content. I want new, everything needs to be new and fast, and what's, the hottest new thing. I think that's what I'm seeing a lot of in the industry, is that there's less and less brand loyalty and more of like, what's the hottest new shiny thing? Because we're, guys that have been lifelong, I'll just throw out some brands, and this isn't to knock any brands. It's just, guys that have been Mystery Ranch. They've worn Mystery Ranch backpacks for 10 years, or Glacier for 10 years. And then as soon as they see one of our ads go by for a backpack they've never seen, what's that new shiny Eberlestock ad? Watch the ad, and next thing you know, I get a phone call that is like, I gotta have this. And I'm not complaining, but that's just one of the big changes is, I think there's just less and less loyalty to brands. I think that the brands who aren't willing to adapt and continue to put out new products and listen to their consumers and, be that new shiny object, I think they're going to die, man.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy conclusion. I think we have a little bit of that, like, ADD squirrel mentality, like, and everybody's just like, phew. But I think that's a byproduct of not just social media, of just the speed of news and how news travels now. Yeah. I think people are totally inundated, sensory overload, with products, with ads, with everything in between. Everything's the latest and greatest. And I think what happens is people go through cycles. So they go through, I don't think people totally abandon their home brand in some ways, unless the brand really goes to shit. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some big ones out there with certain numbers in their name. But they kind of just de-evolve. They devolve in a way, excuse me, they devolve in a way that there's no coming back from it, and they just kind of corporatize, and things change, and that's part of life. But I think the biggest thing in brand and brand placement is understanding what you do well, sticking to what you do well, and not trying to get too much into yoga pants and start to become and morph into Lululemon or whatever it is you're trying to do. Stay true to what you are, and you'll continue to keep your customer base, because there's a lot of great brands out there, and we know them. And I'll talk about Sitka and Kuyu and different brands that do a fantastic job staying true to what they are. And when you really look at them, they're coming out with a pattern a year. They're not trying to really reinvent the wheel. They're really just coming out with their 12 or 15 SKU set each year, and they're not trying to kill the game. They're making subtle tweaks. They're innovating, like you're saying, but they're keeping their palette really simple. And I see the same thing in you guys. Yes. And there's still innovation there, but it's a tactical innovation. It's like, what can we do really well right now to capture the market? And let's not be a scattergun. Let's snipe, but let's still innovate, and let's still put products out there people want.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I just think it's exciting to see what's going on in the soft goods market, and that's what I've been, because I think your market gets overlooked a lot, and that's unfortunate, because it's not a gun, it's not an AR, it's not a pistol, it's not the shiny new Glock 44, it's not something like that. Yeah, it's just it's one of those things that people are kind of like, oh, a bag, or oh. And I think that's wrong. I think that the market should look at that. And if people were to ask me some of the most innovative brands, I've said it before, look at brands like Eberlestock, look at brands out there that are doing some really cool stuff in soft goods. I mean, 10 years ago, guys were still wearing, this, brother, guys were still wearing BDUs and fucking flannels.
Yeah.
So we've come we've come a long, long way. And we owe a debt of gratitude to you guys, to Sitka, to Kuyu, brands I harken back to. And they've got Mossy Oak, even throw them in there. But, there's a lot of brands that have done some cool stuff to kind of change the game. What do you think some of the biggest innovations to come will be in the next couple of years, especially in the soft goods market?
Yeah, that's a good question. As far as innovation, I think we can do there's some pretty cool materials coming from overseas. Things that are extremely lightweight, that almost feel weightless, but yet have a strength to them that, you can't cut them with knives, you can't tear them, they're abrasion resistant. I mean, it's something that 10 years ago, I would have told you it's impossible for a material like that to exist. And yet I've seen it with my own two eyes.
Right.
There's some pretty cool stuff. I think materials are really going to come a long way. I think here shortly, the 1,000 denier heavy duty Cordura stuff that, was being used in the military for the last 20 years. I think that's going to be a thing of the past. I think there's a lot to be done. It's innovation in the soft goods industry is not dead by any means. We're always tweaking new things and finding new ways to do things. I think the EDC market, the everyday carry market, is one that is just absolutely blowing up for us. And look how many guns sold over Black Friday, like enough to arm the entire Marine Corps, right? I mean, it's just absolutely insane. There are so many people out there buying guns, and the reality is that not everybody wants to or can carry on their person 24/7. Have you ever tried to carry a gun on you in the gym? It is so hard. I mean, you can do it, but it is obnoxious.
Absolutely.
Like try and do jump rope with a Glock 19 on your, it sucks, right? And so things like, gym bags that have a quick, concealed carry holster for like an SBR or, things like that. But there's a lot of room to grow into the EDC market. And that's something that we're really taking a heavy look at as more and more people are, deciding, hey, like I got to take advantage of the Second Amendment because it's a crazy world out there.
Yeah. And, without getting too heavy into the political stuff, it is nuts. But I think you're absolutely right. There's a huge innovation, in materials, especially around that market, but particularly one place I think that's still ripe for the right company to come in and really take over is design a women's line, something that really speaks to the women's market. And I feel everybody who's tried it has missed terribly. And I've talked to a lot of companies about it, and I feel that no one has done a great, because I'm going to be 100% honest with you, because you're a marketing guy and it's one marketing guy talking to another. There's a lot of companies out there that get these supermodel-esque chicks and they'll throw a bag on them, an EDC type bag, and it's just not real life, and they're on a range, and it's just not, it doesn't do it for me the way a guy with a backpack does it. So I think there's huge innovation to be made still there, even in marketing and how the product is placed, because I feel nobody's done it successfully yet. I mean, can you name for me one women's ad you've seen with an EDC bag that's like, you're like, damn, they did that right?
Absolutely not. No. And that's a great point. At work, I had this big checklist of stuff that I want to accomplish in, 2019, 2020, and like wherever. And at the very top is women's tax. It is on all of our radar. It is a difficult task. It's easy to design something for men. I'm a man. I get it. I know how it should feel. I know how it should fit. I know where the strap should go. I know where the weight should ride. I get it. I don't know for a woman.
Right.
We have some fantastic women that we work with. We get great feedback from them. But actually designing something specifically for a woman's body, how the weight should ride on a woman's body, and all those things, it's a task. And aside from that, men, we don't really care what it looks like a lot of times. There's some guys that they wanted to look good, and I get it. But like other times, it's like, hey man, I don't care as long as it works and keeps me safe and does all these things. Great. For women, though, like there's a little bit of that. Like it has to look, has to look pretty, has to look good. So it's definitely on my radar. I just don't ignore it.
I think it's definitely,
change my marketing.
I definitely think that's going to be a few at bats for everybody. So you're not going to be alone. That's going to be something everybody's going to have to take a few swings at. And I think time will tell. Yeah. And it's going to be one of those things that you got to kind of go to your office, wipe everything off your desk, and say, I'm not leaving here, and get the right, maybe get the misses in, you get a couple people and you say, we're not going to leave here until we come up with 2 or 3 good ideas that actually make freaking sense. It's going to take one of those moments, for it to click. But we all know how that goes. And that's just a matter of dedicating the time to it and resources. And that's probably going to come in the summer months at some point when there's no hunting and no distractions and you can kind of get in the office and dig in.
Exactly.
But,
no trade shows.
Yeah, no trade shows. But, it's an interesting time. You brought up, you touched on a little bit of the political stuff. It's a really interesting and crazy time right now, and we're in the midst of an election. Does it scare you at all? Is there anything that goes through your head in terms of just where this will all go and how the markets fluctuate the way that they do?
I mean, sure. I think about it quite a bit. We don't talk about it a whole lot because it's one of the things that's like outside of our span of control. One of the things that I naturally, just as my person, I have a lot of anxiety. And one of the things I've had to teach myself and coach myself over the years is the things that I cannot control. I need to find I need to let go of and focus on what is in my immediate circle, the things that I can touch and change and work on. Man, whatever happens with this impeachment, whatever happens with the election, what happens with the trade wars, that's outside of our span. And so we just need to focus on, making great products. I need to focus on putting together good ads, creating good content, testing the right products, doing the things that I know I'm good at. And then, we'll find a market for them.
That's so. Yeah, it's so true. It's not an easy environment. It's easy to say, well, we have the election, we have this, we have that, all these different things, and come up with all these, different, I guess you'd call them excuses to why, we do well or why we do poorly. But at the end of the day, we work in a cyclical market, and it's something, the wheel always spins around, especially in hunting. You have hunting seasons and you have buying seasons, and you have times where people put everything in the closet. And hunting gear, like anything else, it's gonna evolve season by season, and it's important to understand your market and who's going to buy and when they're not going to buy. And it's never going to be easy, But at the same time, I think we have the best environment right now, and we're in the best situation to really begin to take whatever the scenario is mainstream and push it out there. And I look at, similar to you, I look at markets like the energy drink market. I look at markets like action sports, and I try to say, geez, what are they doing that we could be doing better? And I had this conversation with Shane Cooley at Glock and a few guys. There's so much we could be doing as an industry. And I had a really deep conversation with an owner of a very large company tonight, and we were talking about it, and he was like, man, I get what you're saying. It's just we're not pushing the envelope we're not pushing the puck down ice the way we should be. And we're not working together the way that we can be and developing and getting our best face forward. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast was I feel the industry's biggest failure is we do so much to put a cool picture out there, but we do a horrible job getting a voice behind the gun and getting a voice behind the hunter, getting a voice behind the people. And I feel voice in video is a great equalizer, and I wish people would get to know more of the people behind the photos and behind those things.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And going with that, one of the things I'm really trying to focus on moving into 2020 is I realize that the short attention span, I realize that people don't want to see a 5-minute ad. They want to see a 15-second ad or a 30-second ad. I get that. But I also want to have available to people like a story. You know what I mean? Some people, they do want to know more about a picture or more about a video or an experience. And that's, I think, one of the things that's so special about Eberlestock, and one of the things that's special, about the people who work there, is we have stories to tell. Like, we have things we want to get across. We have some incredible people who use our stuff, who have done incredible missions like all around the world. And those are the stories that I'm trying to capture, get on video, talk to those people, get that content put together, so that when there are those people who are like you said, get a little deeper, get a little more. I want to have those available. I'm not going to abandon the 10-second clips, the 30-second ads and those things, because they work. But at the same time, I do want to have some depth to this brand. I want people to see us as, for the authentic and legitimate, outdoor gear brand that we are.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think that's one of the big, I think as, more resources are available, and it comes down to resources. A lot of people don't realize sometimes some of these marketing, teams, it's you, a camera, and a prayer. You know what I mean? And they don't realize we're trying to put more out there because, one is none and two is one. And in marketing and content, one is none, two is none, and three is one. So you need to get so much content. And sometimes, to be quite honest, you got a family. There's just not enough time in the day to put it out there. I mean, here we are at whatever it is, 9:00 at night, doing some audio. It's one of those things that a lot of people don't realize. Everybody's trying to get the information out there. We're trying to get it to the people. We're trying to create more. We're trying to push more out there. And we're happy to do it, and we love doing it. It's getting the resources and getting the ability to connect. And there's so many great platforms out there, but literally we went from 10 years ago, Austin, where saying to someone, we're going to have a social media director, they looked at you like you had 10 heads. Now one almost isn't enough. Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah, it's crazy, and now we're entering an era where you have so much content. I asked a major CEO of a firearms company, I said, when you hire people in the marketing department, are you aware that you need to be hiring people that you can put in front of a camera? And he looked at me like I had 10 heads for a second, and then he goes, something? I never thought of that in the interview process. I'm like, everybody in that office needs to be prepared to have a camera put in their face, because that's what they're signing up for.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because literally this morning in our company meeting, everyone's sitting around the table. I said, hey, our marketing is dried up right now. Like, we're tapped. We squeezed all the juice out of the orange. I need more content. I need anybody who has a free minute today to volunteer to go help me make some videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just see everyone kind of look down, no. I'm like, guys, no, I need volunteers. I need help. And it's tough, man. And it's kind of one of the hard things about it is you're putting yourself out there. You're opening yourself up to. There's a lot of a lot of people who see it are going to be fans of the brand. They're going to be followers or friends or had good experiences, and there's a lot of positivity. But the other hard thing about advertising on social media is you're testing new segments, right? Maybe you're going to test, a group of conservative males in Georgia, and you're going to send this ad there and see how it does. And then if it does well, like maybe expand it, through the whole Southeast or whatever. Well, the conservative males in Georgia might have never heard of Eberlestock, and suddenly I'm opening myself up to criticism from 20,000 guys, and some of them are just ruthless. And that's another thing about it is if you are going to put yourself on camera, you have to prepare for the backlash that you're going to get, because it is not all going to be positive. Like every single day I read stuff and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like people are terrible.
Oh yeah.
And I have a pretty thick, I worked in the prison for 5 years, and I feel like I have a pretty thick skin. And even every once in a while, I'm still just like, ow, like that one kind of hurts, I got to delete that one and move on. But yeah, you really open yourself up to some criticism when you put yourself on camera, and that's just something you have to be ready for and not take it personal. That's the other thing. They're not talking about you as a person. They're watching a 5-second ad and they're putting some silly opinion out that carries absolutely no weight. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, you totally open yourself up to whatever ridicule, whatever somebody wants to say, whatever they want to put out there. And that's nothing new. I mean, haters and things like that, and comments and things like that, they're gonna always be there. It's getting people that have the ability to not just, we talk about this all the time. There's 5-tool baseball players. There's 5-tool shooters. You need to find somebody in marketing that's really a 3-tool or at least a 2-tool person that can do a little bit of audio, do some video perhaps. Everybody can do stills. And that's why I loved when video came in hot and heavy, and so did audio, because I looked across the table. I remember it like yesterday. It was 3 years ago. I looked across the table at another marketing director and I said, now we're going to separate the men from the boys when audio and video comes in, because now you're going to see who has the ability to really get out there and talk the talk. A lot of people portrayed that they can walk the walk, but now we're going to see. And audio is a great equalizer, and so is video. And I think that excites me. A guy like me, that gets me pumped up, and I know it does for you too.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it all, man. I love what we're doing right now. Just a good, like an open conversation. Like this is easy. It's natural. And it's something that like, I hope if people are not used to it, just start practicing, like we're losing the ability to communicate. We truly are. Between the keyboard and, texting and everything, we're losing the ability to communicate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies, and again, this was something I've talked to Max about, Shane, I think a lot of companies aren't looking at these types of formats because they're just kind of really overwhelmed about it. They're like, we're going to put a mic in front of someone? What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, like, now's the, like, if not now, when? And what are you going to do when Instagram goes away? What are you going to do when you can't have a picture out there? What are you going to do when your account gets shadow banned? What's the plan B?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So it's a trying time, and it's not easy to sift through all that. And as a marketing team, you just do the best that you can. So it's really exciting to see everything you've had going on. What type of taste can you give me about SHOT Show and Eberlestock and what you guys will be doing?
Yeah, we have a couple new things we're going to put out. We discontinued quite a few different kind of outdated patterns of fabric and materials. And so we're going to be launching some new patterns, getting those updated. I really am happy with how they turned out. We are going to, well, I don't know if I can say that.
Without giving me too much of the secret sauce, but you got to give me a taste. Nobody's listening.
We're going to launch, we have some new products. Some new products I think are pretty cool. Something that, soft goods that we don't even have anything like it in our line. It'll be totally new for us, kind of a new market, but it's a good direction for us. Still keeping to our bread and butter, but just kind of innovating some new things. And so, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm hoping there's a couple other products that we've been discussing the possibility of having. I just don't know if we'll have the prototype there yet. I'd like to, but we're really just trying to make everything lightweight, but still just tough as nails. Because of the people that use our stuff and the reputation we have, we're never going to sacrifice the quality of our stuff just to make someone happy, like by saving a couple ounces. We're not going to use cheap zippers or cheap buckles or things like that. So, save a couple ounces or save a couple bucks. And so that's one of the things that takes us so long, is just like sourcing the absolute best materials and, figuring out the best way to like put this together so these, pressure points don't fail and things like that. So we'll have to see if we can have these prototypes ready in time, because if we do, they're pretty awesome.
You guys
we're heading in the right direction.
You guys always pull out all the stops, and I always love the booth. By the way, if you ever get a chance, anyone listening, you got to head out and you got to check out their booths at the shows. They always do a fantastic job, and you're always swamped. I kind of just always walk by and give a wave, but you do a great job. The one of the last questions I have is one, don't dance around this one. I'll get a good answer from you. There's a lot of great brands out there in the soft goods market. Who do you look at? Doesn't necessarily have to be a competitor that you're like, geez, I like their style, or I like what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love this question, and I won't dance around it because it's an easy answer, man. We're in the process right now of an initiative that happened years ago. But it's okay, we're a small company, but we're developing what's called a lookbook. People don't know what that is. It's basically a marketing tool that you use for pretty much everything. It's the logos that it's the logos that the brand uses. It's the brand's colors. It's the brand's fonts, and it's everything. It's how you look and feel in the public's eye. And that lookbook is used for everything. It's used for your marketing, your emails, your ads, your digital content. Everything that goes out should follow the themes in the lookbook. And so as we're doing this and we're looking at this, we're kind of like, okay, like let's identify some brands. They don't even necessarily need to be, in the hunting space or whatever, that we can look to as a good example of this. So it's a great question, because I've literally been doing this the last month or so. There is a company out of Seattle called Beyond Clothing, and they're at SHOT Show. They're a blast, great guys. And they make cold weather gear primarily for the military. And what Beyond has done, I would encourage you guys to go check out their website. It's fantastic. I think it's beyondclothing.com. But what they have done is they developed an amazing look. It's very modern. It's very clean. It's easy to look at. It's easy to navigate. And I took a lot of the, not took as in stole their design, but I took the feel. I like the clean feeling, not a lot of clutter. I like the, easy on the eyes and some of those things. So Beyond is one that I really look up to. I also really like Kuhl, Kuhl. Have you heard of that, Bennett?
Of course.
Pants are really popular. I looked a lot at Kuhl. I looked a lot at how they lay their website out, do some of that stuff. I think Kuhl is a great example. Another one that I really liked is Arc'teryx. They do a lot of technical clothing and technical apparel. I think Arc'teryx is really on top of it. Those three are three really that I looked at as kind of like, as we're developing this lookbook of like, who's doing it right? Who's doing a good job with this?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun brands.
I'm not embarrassed to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun brands out there to kind of look at from afar and kind of glance at and say, geez, I like what they're doing, and I really dig their style. And, I think that you guys have that unique ability, and especially you, kind of helming the ship there a little bit, to look at them and say, geez, let's take a look at their book, or let's look at their magalog or whatever they're doing, and let's kind of not be afraid to look at the ideas they're running with. Because at the end of the day, in marketing, we do that all the time. I mean, you go through our offices, we have everybody else's books. And that's what we do. And people don't realize that, we're looking at what everyone else is doing. We'd be fools not to. So, to everybody out there, there's no secret sauce. Everything's been done, and it's been done twice. So it's just a matter of, creating your own spin on the things that influence you. I've been greatly influenced by the action sports genre, combat sports, areas that, I've always enjoyed, being a part of the gun industry from the training side. Even though I wasn't an instructor, I traveled and palled around with a lot of great instructors through the years. I've been blessed to work with so many fantastic instructors and be on the range and see how they do things and see how they operate. And that's obviously clearly influenced a lot of the trends and things that I like to do. And you can see that in a lot of the stuff that you do. You love the outdoors game, your relationship with Beyond, your relationship with Sorinex, your relationship with a lot of these brands. It shows in everything that you do, and that's really important. And people don't understand that contributes a lot to your cross-promotional opportunities and reach and the things that you're trying to do to develop the brand through brand association and get it in the right people's hands.
And that's a great point. And you're right. Sorinex is another great brand that is just on
Bert
it.
does an awesome job.
Everything that they touch turns to gold, man, and they just kill it. And, one of the things that I learned a while back, and I've tried to remember, is that, the less enemies that you have, the better. You know what I mean? The more friends that you have in any industry, the easier your life is going to be. And, we're all human. Like, we all like to be told we're doing a good job. We all like to be complimented on our work. And just literally last night, was it last night? It might have been 2 nights ago. I was texting the marketing director at Beyond super late at night. And, it's like midnight. And I text this guy and I just tell him, like, hey, man, I got to be honest. Like, I absolutely love your catalog. I was like, I love the look. I love the feel. I love the layout. You did such a great job, man. Like, my hat's off. I look up to the work you do. And he was just so nice and, gave me a great response. And it's stuff like that. Like, when you see that stuff, I think it's okay to tell those people, like, hey, you're doing a great job, man. Like, I really look up to the work you're doing. I like this specific aspect of it. People want to hear those things. You're gonna make friends in industry, and you're gonna have a reputation of someone who's like approachable and open. And now, if the guys at Beyond ever need anything, they know they can call me, and I'll bend over backwards for those guys. I'd love to help those guys on something.
It's funny that
thing. Like, don't be afraid.
It's super funny that type of situation moved you, because in the conversation I was having with this particular owner tonight, he said, and I've said this on past podcasts, he said, we're talking about a relationship with somebody, and I said, at the end of the day, I can't be around people that don't build bridges. I can't be around them. I can't have people. They said, and I had this conversation. You go back and listen to my Ray Cashcare podcast. I asked Ray, I said, how important is circle to you? And he got into how, his spiel. And he said, what about you? And I said, he flipped the script on me. He said, what about you? I said, Ray, I said, my number one criteria for someone I'm going to put in my circle, they have to answer this question in a positive way. They have to be a bridge builder. If they're a bridge burner, I can't have anything to do with them, because at the end of the day, you go home to a family and a wife and in a home. And there's not enough time in the day to deal with people who are bridge burners and people who, want to burn every path behind them to cinders, because if you do that in life, you're going to be on an island, and it gets lonely on that island.
Absolutely. I love it. The owner of Eberlestock, Glenn, he has something he always says, and there's 2 types of people. There's people that add energy to your life, or there's people that take energy from your life. And that's like something that he uses it like as a screening tool. Where I'm like, hey, like, do you want to talk to this guy? He's calling in and ask to talk to you, and he'll just look at me and be like, he takes too much of my energy, Austin. You handle this, Yep. And I get it. Like, there is only so much time in a day, and I have only so much energy, and I'm going to give it 100%. But if you are taking up too much of that energy, like, I'm probably going to either tell you no, or end the conversation, or just be honest with you and be like, hey, like, this isn't for me, man. And you have to do that, because there's just not enough time to deal with people that just soak all that energy out of you. And those people are toxic, man.
They're vampires, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I look at it like, I train jujitsu, so you have an energy bar. You only have so much energy. It's like a video game. You only have so much energy in that energy bar, so you only have so much bandwidth in a day. You have to put people around you and have people on your team and in your life that are going to build those bridges, that are going to help you extend, and that does not mean that you're only putting people in your life that offer an advantage. Sometimes it's great to have those great friends, and we all have them from home, that just want to say, hey man, how you doing? And that's adding good energy. And I try to keep as many folks in my circle that I can pick up the phone, I can call, and I can say, hey, what's going on? And they'll add something, they'll add a value to my day, my conversation. And a lot of us, you and I, we don't talk all the time, but we talk enough that, I know if I pick up the phone, it's going to be a good conversation. I get accused constantly of being too East Coast, so people always say, "Oh, he's rude, or he's short with people, or he's this," and I said, "No, that's not what I just don't waste people's time. Anytime, if I want something, I reach out and I say, hey, I want this, or I want that, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And if the answer is no, I'm still going to be your friend. It's just going to be like, but I'm not in the business of, geez, let me call Austin and waste his time, so because you can't buy the time back. So I try to be quick with people and make it worth their while and add a value and hit and move on and get to the next thing. Cause we're all moving, in the right direction and trying to build things. But my number one criteria is, does this person build bridges or do they burn them?
Yeah. I love it, man. Yeah. That is such good advice. And I have rules, for myself for social media. And one of my rules, my number one actually, is that I don't post a single thing that is negative about another person. Right. So if you look at my page, you won't see a single negative thing. And that is my rule. That is my number one rule. I don't post anything negative, and I don't post anything negative about another person. And that has served me so well, because for such a long time, there's so much toxicity and negative energy and just drain on social media. And I had to spend so much time on there from work. And once I kind of started developing some rules for myself to follow, it cut a lot of that nonsense out. And once that noise, all that background noise kind of started fading out, now social media for me is like, it's nice. Like I don't deal with all the hate and the haters and the negativity and all that stuff on my personal page anymore. And I love it. And just the other day, probably like a week ago, I put something on one of my Instagram stories, and all I said was, the next person that sends you a text message, reply with how much and why you appreciate them. And that's all I said. And I meant it. Like, that is sincere. That's not me just like trying to be, whatever. And sure enough, man, like as soon as I posted that, I got I got a couple text messages from some people who saw it, and I just sent them a nice text and said, hey, this is what I really appreciate about you, and this is why. And it just started like such a nice dialogue between me and some people that I hadn't talked to in a while. And then on top of that, and this is kind of an unexpected thing, is I got probably a dozen, man, Brandon Lilly, who's one of the nicest, best human beings on the planet, 5 seconds later sent me like a paragraph on, why he looks up to me and all this just really nice stuff. And that was not my intention at all. I was not doing that to, compliment seek, but I probably had a dozen people send me DMs about things they liked about me. And I was like, guys, like, I'm humbled by this, but, and that's the thing, is like, the more positivity and the more energy that you put out and that you put in the world, whether it's face to face, in your company, on social media, like, that is going to come around and people will notice it. And so, and go what you're saying, man, that's one thing that I would encourage people to work on, is just cut out the toxicity.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you nailed it. And I just think people should be nicer. And I think at the end of the day, people should take people at face value. And here's the number one thing in business and life: you have to kind of, judge people for how you interact with them in business and in life. Mm-hmm. People are going to have less than positive interactions with some people. And, you never know all the circumstances or reasons. But at the end of the day, when you're in charge of things like marketing, like you are, and you're in charge of sponsorships and this and that, sometimes people are going to get butthurt is the plain honest answer. The reality is you can only say, look, at the end of the day, I had a very high profile guy, at a very high profile company. I'm not going to name the company, but people could piece it together. But he, he's got a very mixed review. And somebody said, why do you think that is? You know him. And I said, well, guys, you're not realizing he's got one of the number one brands out there in the action sports arena. He's got to deal with everybody banging him over the head every 5 minutes. So, I said, I know the position he's in. I know what he's dealing with, and I know how many times a day he gets hit up for something. And we all can relate to that. And it's not easy. That's why, we kind of covered our Rolodexes a little bit, and we're always a little careful. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of understand everybody has their own ecosystem that they're processing things. So I take an approach with social media and with the cell phone, and that's the number one thing we're getting at, as just kind of being like, okay, if I feel like I'm going to do something negative, I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to not look at it. I'm not going to deal with it. I have a sarcasm to me for sure. Everybody knows if you look at any of my posts, it's all super sarcastic. I'll get people that'll be like, are you mad? Are you? And I'm like, no, it's just how I am. I have that East Coast sense of humor. It's funny because I can relate to the Trump administration so much because he's like a taxi cab driver. It's just whatever pops in his head, he throws out there. And, so I can relate, I'm very similar in that way. But I take the approach of just take a step back. And at the end of the day, if it's someone in or around the industry, I always say the same thing. Hey, man, I'm at like 4 shows a year. I got a booth. Come on by. Come say hi. I don't know what to tell you beyond that. I'm easy to find. I ain't hiding. So, it's one of those things. It's not confrontational. It's just like, this isn't the forum where I choose to, get into it or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. The theme of it is everybody should be a little nicer. Everybody should have a kind word for someone. And at the end of the day, positive vibes do always win. And I don't want to take more of your time, man. This was awesome. I mean, we could go on for hours, and believe it or not, we've gone for 50 minutes. So I can't thank you enough. You've been phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to what Eberlestock does. Let everybody know where they can find you, and let everybody know what booth you're at SHOT.
Yeah. So on Instagram, we're just at Eberlestock. My personal one's just at Austin, AUSTIN, period, LEGG. That's my last name. And SHOT Show, I should know our booth number. We're downstairs, on that main floor.
You're in that main corridor,
I don't know. I don't even know. We're like right on that main drag where it's like the main hallway or the main walkway. That's a terrible description. No one's going to find us.
There's an app. There's an app for it.
Reach out. I'd love, if you hear this and you're at SHOT Show, please come say hi. I love meeting people and interacting. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. So please come say hi.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you haven't checked out Eberlestock on the web, you got to go check them out. They have a lot of really cool stuff. Make sure you take some time and check them out. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you, bumping into you. Hopefully we get 5 minutes to wrap, but I'll be there. I'll be bopping around. I know I'll be at my booths for a few minutes and here and there, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm super excited. I can't thank you enough. I love what you're doing over there. Keep crushing it. Keep killing it. Can't thank you for your time. Again, man, if there's ever anything I can do, I'm a phone call away, and look forward to what you got going on.
I appreciate it, man. And next time, let's do this in person. Let's do it right.
I told you, you have a standing invitation. I'd love to get you in. And we talked about that. Man. So I'm doing it. I'm saying it on the recording, on the record. I'd love to have you when you come out for sure. So go have a great night. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and we'll catch up.
Absolutely. All right. Good night, John.
Night.